Hello and welcome to a full character breakdown of Phos's appearance. And I mean full character breakdown. Like, not just when Phos gets a new material of themselves, but also whenever Phos's clothes change or anything with their appearance that changes. Because I just find it super interesting to separate how many chapters we see Phos as a different person. And so I also have a bit of data at the end of the slides that will show, like, how long Phos had certain materials and how that affects, like, our view of Phos. So, on to the first one, which is, of course, pure Phos, or how some people, baby Phos, the original Phos, the good one. But, so of course Phos has the, like, hairstyle they have, and they are like this for 11 chapters, which is pretty long in comparison to some of the other forms. And, of course, this is just iconic because it's their original self. And I have ones from the anime, the manga, and then some of the other artwork that Ichikawa has done. So then we go from 11 to 17, chapter 11 from 17. So that's 7 chapters, 6-ish chapters, where Phos looks the same but has their new legs, And so here's them on the cover with their legs. And this is a pretty small amount of time where they have the hair and the legs. And of course then they go through winter like this as well. And so this is anime, manga, and cover. So then we have 17 to 16, which that's when they have their golden arms, but they still have the, like, candy cane, like, striped legs, And they also have the cube. I put the cube over here as well. I mean, I don't know if that counts, but I'm going through, like, every single Phos, like, transformation, and it's interesting to think, like, this is only the case from 17 to 19, so only, like, 3 chapters that they look like this. And then 20 to 21 is when they have the short hair, and the, like, striped legs, patterns for their legs. So that's only for 2 chapters, but it's kind of interesting because it's kind of weird after this point whenever I see fan art with Phos, like, with Lapis's head and the striped legs, just because we don't really get to see that. So, because after this point, Phos powders up their legs. And this is when Phos tries to look like Antark, and that's why they have, that's why their appearance changes in this sort of way, where they cut their hair shorter because they said they wanted to look like Antark, and they have high heels to look like Antark because Antark had heels for the winter duty. And so it's interesting that Phos is changing their physical look to look more like Antark, or to be like Antark in that way. And so here, this is from 21 to 44, which is 23, 22 chapters. And this is the longest Phos that we see. So the short hair, the gold arms, and the non-striped legs. So I bet, like, when most people think of Phos, they might think of this one first, just because they are the Phos that is the longest, if you don't count the other changes, because because Lapis Phos, like Moon Phos, they are also in the series for about the same amount of time as this Phos, but they have an outfit change, like, in between. So this is the longest time we see Phos with minimal changes. Like, of course, they break apart and stuff. This is the last time we see Phos with this head, of course, and anime, stuff like that. And I wanted to point out, like, their transformation, because I think when they stop trying to look like Antark, I think that's when they start forgetting Antark, because at some point they do start to forget, like, pieces like that, and I think that's shown through their visual, through how they appear in themselves. And let me know if you leave in your comments your other analysis. I'm just going through how long each appearance has gone for and everything like that. So this is in between it, but this is just such an iconic image, so I wanted to include this one. But 39, and someone, when I was reading it with my other friend, they mentioned how this kind of looks like how the ice flows look, which is an interesting thought. I don't know if that relates to anything exactly, but it does, like, Phos having a mental breakdown physically looks that way. And we see how the gold comes from their arms and stretches out from their head, and that happens later, of course, when they're in their more, like, when they go to, like, Civil War Phos, and the gold rushes out of their head rather than, like, in their arms. And I think this is, like, a constant thing with, like, whenever they are mentally distressed, Here's Headless Phos. For one chapter, we get Headless Phos. And it's kind of interesting because throughout this whole chapter, they don't have a head, obviously. That's why they're called Headless Phos. But I just really like the, like, oozing that they did for this part. And then we have Lapis Phos with long hair from 45 to 47, so only, like, 3 chapters where we get Phos with long hair. And, of course, this is when they really look like Lapis. And whenever I see fan art, I have to distinguish. I was like, oh, okay, gold arms. Okay, so that's Phos, you know. And you can see them. And then for 2 chapters, 47 through 48, we had Ponytail Phos, only for 2 chapters. So it's kind of like, some people were like, oh yeah, Ponytail Phos was really short-lived. Like, going back, it was only 2 chapters. And Phos only had long hair for 3 chapters. So for a total of 5 chapters, Phos had long hair. So really not that much, but, you know, we got it for a little bit. And then 48 to 54... we had this Phos, which this Phos is characterized by, I did give them names. What were the names I gave them? I think, this one I named Bowl-Cut Phos in the data. We'll go back over the data in a bit. But here we have Phos with their short hair. We have and they're in their winter uniform. Oh, that's another thing with their winter uniform. So, another thing that shows that they're really in the past of how they physically look is that they never changed their spring uniform. And Red Barrel mentions that the reason that they don't switch to their spring uniform or summer uniform, whichever it is because they need to make adjustments because Phos has changed so much. But Phos never puts on another uniform, even when the other characters are wearing spring uniforms. And I think that's just to show how much in the past they are and how they're caring less about, like, fitting in with the other gems, because Cinnabar also doesn't change to a spring uniform, and that's described because Cinnabar doesn't want to get the spring uniform, like, dirty or something, and it just shows that they're not really, both Phos and Cinnabar aren't really incorporated into the society, and of course that only happens, like, later in the story when we see that Phos is not changing uniforms along with the other characters, and then that's a link with Cinnabar, that they both don't really fit in that sort of way. And here is Phos, probably one of the few last times we see them in their winter uniform when they're fighting Acmea. And this is just a really cool panel, and it's 54 when they're on the moon. So for 2 chapters, we have Worn Clothes Phos, is how I labeled it. 54 to 56. So that's 3 chapters? 4, 5, 6. Okay, yeah. So 3 chapters. And I love how in this panel the snails just are hugging Phos. The snails in Phos, the snails did nothing wrong. They're cute. Anyway, this is interesting because Phos still has the heels, of course, and it's interesting that they're gold here because Phos is actually making that effort. When they switch to their moon outfit, they are, of course, the moon people designed it that way, and then in their outfit change, that's when the heels go away. And so I feel like when the heels go away, that might be when they really start thinking less about Antark and not really remembering them. But of course, that's not here yet. And then we have 56 to 69 is the Moon Phos in this outfit. So we're distinguishing the different outfits for like a pretty long bit. And here we have, the pearl and their eye. And, okay, so an interesting thing about the pearl that I read up on a bit is that I forgot all the Buddhism words for it, but it said that there is a certain type of, Buddhist entity where they would change their eyes as a sign of resolve. So they would have one eye that was a different color, and then when both eyes are the same color, that's when their, resolve will be the same. I just read this a couple days ago and I did not fully understand it. I'll probably add it more context to another video later, but I just thought that was super interesting just with the eye thing. So Phos getting the pearl eye is Phos showing their resolve to the Lunarians that they're going to do it, and they don't get to the point of contacting Congo and having 2 of the same eye until Congo gives them their eye. So it's very interesting, or his eye. Another thing about the pearl is in the lore book, it states that the reason why this is a Lunarian pearl and it counts towards it, I think, to Phos becoming human, is that the Lunarian, it says in the lore book that the Lunarians specially cultivate these pearls, they're synthetic, obviously, and it said that like only like one of these pearls that are this big can be produced like every 1,000 of years or something. And it just also shows like Acmea's intense planning for this moment, because the pearl of this size has to be like pre-ordered. It says in the lore book how like these are not easy to get, and of course Acme is like the head of the Lunarians, so of course he has one. But the fact that he just casually was like working on it when Phos came in, and then stuck it in Phos's eye, like it shows the careful planning, and it also shows like the importance of like a piece of a Lunarian, in the sense that pearls are very kind of symbolic. The pearls are used in everything in Lunarian fashion and everything. Like that's why they're like more bubbly like here and stuff like that, because they really have like their pearls and white in like shapes, and that's very Lunarian, and that's why Phos has a Lunarian pearl for an eye. And then of course I showed the shoes, because it's not gold anymore, it's actually part of their outfit. But because of the change in their outfit, like they're starting to look less like Antark what they wanted, because of course now their sleeves are flared out, like they aren't puffy, they aren't puff sleeves anymore, and their outfit is slowly changing to be less like Antark, and more Lunarian, because the Lunarians made it. So this is still 56 to 69, and I just want to, like, this is one of the most iconic photos of Moon Phos, so I wanted to take that in, and you can just really see, like, how different, like, Phos has come here. Like, this was the point in the manga, like, this panel, where I was really questioning. I was like, is this really Phos? Like, how much have they changed? They've changed so much, and so this is obviously them for a bit. Now, this is 71 only. This is Phos wears this outfit only in chapter 71. So like I said, I'm going through every single chapter and looking at every single Phos change. Phos okay? We'll see. But this is of course Phos in like the recovery outfit, and they go to talk to Karen Gorm after this, and this is when like they realize that Karen Gorm really isn't on their side, This is after Karen Gorm breaks their skull in, that's right. So this is like their like recovery outfit, or like kind of hospital gown-esque, and you see how the gold isn't even coming out of their feet anymore, like here, and that was a thing in the cover of volume 4. Yeah, in the cover of volume 4, if you look on the back side of it, you can see that like even though like Phos isn't wearing their shoes on that cover, that they still have gold leaking out of their feet, because they want, because the gold is there to mimic Antark's appearance of having heels, so even if they aren't focusing on it, it's something that's still part of them. But now you see here that the gold is just incorporated into their body, and of course only coming out of their arms. And see, it spills out of Phos's head again, and this is a constant thing that happens, and that's why it spills out of Phos's back and head when they transform later, is because when the gold, instead of the gold being focused more downward or in their arms or in their torso, it goes upwards just whenever they are mentally distressed. And of course here, so this is 69 to 77. This one was 71 only. So 69 to 70 is when Phos goes to back to Earth to try to try to get Congo to pray. And this is the very first time we see Phos's outfit. And I know a lot of people were talking about how they didn't notice this outfit change, and that's because there isn't really any like indication that there's an outfit change. It's just at the beginning of 69, Phos is in a different outfit and attacking the moon. But it talks about in the lore book how they changed Phos's outfit just to fit with them better, and the long, like, flowy sleeves is supposed to help with Phos's gold alloy, letting the alloy go wherever it needs to is basically what it was. I like this one with Phos hugging the snail. But, yeah, so this is the different ones. You see that in comparison to this outfit, the sleeves are a lot shorter for this one, and Phos is still wearing, like, a one-piece, like, shorts thing, and here like the tie is a lot higher, the sleeves are a lot longer, and the one piece extends down to their footwear for this one. And so here is 77, where they get shattered and broken apart and spread across the island. Very much fun things. So here we have Phos shattered, broken down. This is 78 only, so for the entire chapter, of course it's 220 years in actual time, but for the entire chapter, Phos is just broken down like this, and that's only for 78, and this is what they look like, and anyway, it was a depressing time. So I'm also counting, did I not put okay, 79 to 84 is this one. Actually, I think this is 78. Okay, yeah, I'm counting this with this. But here, this is also only for, like, one chapter, is, like, rubble Phos, or, Congo is putting Phos back together, and, Congo has Lapis Lazuli there. And this is counted as a different one. And then, I named this Gremlin Phos, because Phos looks like a gremlin, and whatever this is, the art is amazing. And it fills me with dread. It's so good. So this is from 79 to 84, because I'm counting it as until they get repaired again. So this is what they look like, and they start running from the other gems when they awake and stuff like that. So yeah. And again, I don't have much to say. So I guess we can analyze the gold. So the gold is inside their body here, and it's kind of spewing out, right? But their arms are still holding themselves up. And you can see here that the gold is propping up. They're just using the gold, and then the gold is spewing up. So it looks like the gold just wants to go up is what it is, and that's what this is. And I heard that this, is just basically supposed to be a dark version of some sort of, Buddhist thing. And the gold is supposed to have, Phos of, multiple arms or something, to indicate some Buddhist thing. I'm not that well-versed in Buddhism, so I know that this is some representation for something, so if you know more about that, you can leave it in the comments, but I think it is cool how something that could be looked at as holy or something more divine can be turned into something that looks like this, and something that is more darker, and I love how Ichikawa does that. So here's 84 to 93. So this is I think I called this Vengeance Phos, because, that's the iconic thing, and the gold is spewing more out of them. And you can see that their arms, because they have the same amount of gold for everything, their arms are a lot less now because the gold is spewing up here. And another thing with Lapis's head is when Rutile attaches Lapis's head, there's 2 whole pages dedicated to showing how Rutile attaches Lapis's head. And you can see Rutile put the gold in a pattern like this around their head, and that's why it spews out that way, because there's cracks and holes and crevices there, and so the gold spews out there because it has a place to open or a place to go. And so here we go. This is the same Phos from 84 to 93. Vengeance Phos is what I called them. Here, I think I named this one a Human Phos, because that's what the Wiki has it. But yeah, so this is from 93 to 97, when they're in this form, and they get the Mercury from Cinnabar, and they look super happy and fun. And this is 95, which is the iconic, 10,000 years. So through 93 to 97 is, when they're in this form, and then through the 10,000 years. And then 97 to 105, they're in, I think I called this, their god form. I think the Wiki calls it, their prayer form. And this is what they look like. And this is the tiny piece of phospholite that is left right here. And this is the first time we see them in this form, and this is the last time we see them in this form, up to 105, because at the time I'm recording this video, only 105 is out. Super excited for the last chapters, but yeah. And now we have lovely data. So here's all the names I gave it. So this is in order. So Pure Phos, Snail Leg Phos going this way. Pure Phos, Snail Leg Phos, New Gold Phos, Gold Agate Legs Phos, Older Gold Phos, Headless Phos, Lapis Phos, Ponytail Phos, Bowl-Cut Phos, Worn Clothes Phos, Moon Phos, Recovery Phos, Moon Phos V2, so that's the one with the different outfit, Crush Phos, Rubble Phos, Gremlin Phos, Vengeance Phos, Mercury Phos, God Phos. So now we can see from here that older gold Phos, meaning the Phos that has the powdered legs, is the longest standing Phos, or the one that gets the most screen time. Moon Phos, yeah, and so these are all the different things for the pie chart. So after Gold's Vengeance Phos is Moon Phos. So the original Moon Phos with the short sleeves, which is why I think that these two are the ones that are seen the most in memes and the ones most representing Phos, is because these two are the ones we get to see them the most. And Moon Phos and Moon Phos V2, you know, they are seen longer, but I think a lot of people forget about the outfit change, so that's why they think they're longer. And this is the number of chapters each one is in, loosely. So we can see older Gold Phos is in for 22 chapters. So that's right before Lapis' head gets taken. And that's why we get so attached to that specific Phos and why we see them mostly. And we can see that Moon Phos is 14 chapters and Moon Phos V2 is 9. And then these are all the other ones. It doesn't have every single one because they are more bunched together. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how long each phase has been out. And here's the Wiki category breakdown, so how the Phoses are, because this is obviously every time Phos has changed, but if we were talking about materials or something like that, this is the Wiki breakdown of Phos's development or character throughout it. So we have post-Winter Phos, which is the Phos, which is the older Gold Phos, is what I was saying, but that also incorporates the, like, striped-legged version of that as well. Post-Winter Phos and post-Moon Phos are the longest, and they have about equal time, which is very interesting, because it shows that we get to see Phos in these forms for about the same time, which is why we associate Phos more with those two forms, and it's crazy to think that they get equal time, almost exactly equal time just because of how the chapters are set up, but I wonder if Ichikawa planned it that way. New head Phos, so that's with Lapis, but with the ponytail and the long hair and all that. And I think that this is also counting them and they're still in their winter outfit. And then Shattered Phos is when they are shattered across the island in a mess until they get to Human Phos, which is only 4.7%, and then Prayer Phos, and then Pure Phos. So I think that Prayer Phos will have the same amount of screen time as Pure Phos by the end of this, which is really interesting. Just the last form and the first form of Phos will probably get the same amount of screen time. And all of these are pretty close. Like Post-Winter and Post-Moon Phos are obviously the most. But the rest of these aren't too far off from a medium, except for Human Phos. But it's very interesting to see the breakdown of how many ones. And then these are the chapters. So 22 chapters for Post-Moon Phos. Post-Winter Phos is 22. And this doesn't exactly add up to 105 because some of them overlap, you know? So, like, Human Phos was in a chapter that Prayer Phos was also in, so it overlaps a bit. But it's interesting to see the data of how many chapters each of the Phoses were in and how we view them. Because it really shows that, like, the reason why we view Phos more as Post-Winter Phos and why we view Phos as more Post-Moon Phos is just because they have more screen time. And it really helps it break down why we view them in that way. And so here is the number of chapters, and here are all the different Phoses that I outlined. So we see, like, Recovery Phos 1, Headless Phos 1, Crushed Phos, Rubble Phos 1. So we can see Old Gold Phos is way over here. Again, 22 chapters, way above every other Phos. But if you see Moon Phos and Moon Phos V2 is actually the same, I believe. Yeah, about the same as older Gold Phos. It's just that they're split up between two outfits. And of course this is in order, so you see that Gold Phos and Pure Phos are almost the exact same. But of course maybe with the addition of 3 more chapters, then they'll be about the same. And so that's really interesting. I don't know if that's planned. I just thought that it's really interesting how the appearance breakdown is like this. So here's the top number of chapters for each of them. So of course, as I said, Gold Phos is first. Moon Phos is second, like I said, and Pure Phos is third. So these are the 3 Phoses that we most commonly see and most commonly associate with Phos. So it's interesting that these are the top 3, and it really shows that the amount of screen time that each of these different characters, in quotes, different appearances of Phos, really shows why we associate more with those Phoses compared to the others. But it really shows that, like, the different stages of Phos that have more of an impact. And here we have, this is a breakdown of Lapis's head, so the face of Phos, that's different. So here we have Phos's head is 41.9%. visible lapis head, like visible as in you can tell that it's still lapis, is 46.7%. And so it's really interesting that Lapis's head is on Phos's head more than their own. And of course that's the case because of the 10,000 years and all the time skips. But it's crazy to think about why we might associate why some people might associate Lapis's head more with Phos, is because Phos has Lapis's head more than their own head, which is insane to think about. And then unidentified Lapis head, that obviously incorporates the last Phos. That's also human Phos, and I think I put Gremlin Phos or Vengeance Phos with visible Lapis head because you can still tell it's Lapis. I'm not sure if I did, because their face is very obscured at that point. But either way, Lapis's head is by far like on Phos's person more than Phos's head, timeline-wise and in chapter runtime-wise. But it's still pretty close if you don't count the unidentified Lapis head, that these are almost 50-50. And so it really gives the, like, when you think about Phos, it really gives the which one am I thinking about? Like, let me know in the comments which version of Phos do you think of first when someone says Phos, because I find it really interesting. And let us know why you think that's the case. Like, is it because you have spent more time with them, you thought about them more, maybe because you watched the anime and you only thought about the last one? Let me know in the comments what you think and why you think of it that way. And also subscribe for more videos like this. Anyway, the last chart I have here, I believe this is the last chart. Second to last chart. So the last chart I have here is Phos's haircut. So here we have short hair Phos is 66.3%. So this is including Lapis's short hair and Phos's short hair when they cut it for Antark. And so it shows that, like, Phos majority of the time has short hair. Long-haired Phos, again, 5 chapters, only 5 chapters in the entire runtime, 3.8%. Medium hair Phos, so that's pretty much just pure Phos. I think that is just pure Phos. So when Phos has the, like, medium length hair with the, like, more of hair in the front. So that's 18.3%. And then unidentified haircut, that's human Phos and player Phos and all that, 11.5%. And so it's just interesting to see this breakdown. And of course, short hair Phos is the one that we see the most and most identify with. So the last one is the amount of chapters each one of Phos's materials makes up. So this is, did I forget Mercury? Number of chapters. I did forget the Mercury. The Mercury would be, I don't know how I just forgot to add the Mercury. The Mercury would be human Phos. So human Phos is, I think 93. Human Phos is 93. So 93, so 105 minus 93, so that's 12-ish chapters. So if we go back to here, so that would put Mercury around here. Okay, so around the same as Congo's Eye, just a little bit more than Congo's Eye. Yeah, I don't know how I forgot to put Mercury on this chart. But this shows us the number of chapters that each one of Phos's materials are on. And see here, Phos's head is less than Lapis's head. Because I put Phos's head in here because Phos loses it at some point. And it's interesting to see that there is such a difference in chapters between Phos's head and Lapis's head. The agate legs, of course, are just a little bit more than the gold arms because there's only about a couple chapters difference before Phos gets the gold arms. I think it's like around 10 or 11 or 12 chapters, and then Phos gets the gold arms. So it's really, those are like the defining features of Phos for the main part of the story. Pearl is 41. Is this right? Number of chapters? Some of this seems wrong. I don't know. Because I don't think that I don't know what, I think my numbers are a bit scuffed here. Unless I'm wrong. No, Pearl, no, that makes sense. Pearl, 41. It's crazy to think if it's that much of the runtime. Yeah, it is. Okay, it is that much of the runtime. I don't know what my brain is doing. But yeah, so like over 80 chapters for the agate legs, over 40 for Phos's head and Lapis's head. Gold arms is 80, exactly 80 chapters. And the Pearl looks like around 41 or something like that. And Congo's Eye, of course, less because we just got it. That was the last thing we got. And then Mercury would be around here too. So it's just really interesting to see the breakdown of all this, and that is my last graph. So yeah, let me know what you think about all this information. It's really interesting to see how Phos's mental state affects in their physical appearance. We see that with them, with how they most likely probably forgot about Antark around here, just because they stopped trying to look like Antark because their sleeves are longer. Their hair is still short, but it, it's Lapis's head, and they don't have the heels anymore because they're stopped trying to look like Antark, and they're no longer wearing like shorter shorts. So I think at this point they really forgot Antark, and I feel like you can see that through their character design transformation. Another thing is that Phos gets way more androgynous towards here. Like Phos is like, in my like view of it, is like completely androgynous. So it's interesting how Phos does look more feminine at the beginning. And then the true they them energy throughout this, and then a lot more masculine here, but in the final form they're a lot more gender neutral. And a change in this form that I think is only really noted in the Japanese version is the only form where Phos uses gender neutral pronouns, which is very interesting. And that's to mimic Kongo, because Kongo uses watashi, which is the gender-neutral form of I. But in this form, Phos uses ore, which is the very masculine version. In this form, they also use ore. But both here, before this, they were using boku. I'm going to have a separate video on pronouns later, subscribe for that. But it's just very interesting, like, how their physical changes are reflected in their mentally. Their physical body is a representation of their mental change, and it's so cool to see that transformation and how it can even show like their remembrance of other characters through that. And so I just thought it was cool to break down like how many chapters each type of Phos does and all the times they change. Let me know which Phos form is your favorite, which one you think of Phos, anything about Phos's appearance down in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. And thank you for watching. Bye.